Hi guys, welcome back to the next part of our series. Today we're going to continue with Light Gobos. This is a very old concept. This actually, I think it might predate the, what's the word, cinema and film even. In theater, there has been this use for things called light gobos. And the gobos are nothing more than a mask. It's just a mask that they placed on top of a light so that they create interesting shapes, right? For the scenario or for the stage to have a more interesting look. So, for instance, this one. Imagine that you're doing a play where the main environment is like a factory, and besides the props and the decoration that you have there, you add this sort of gobos to your lights so that it looks like there's like beams and the scaffolding and things being projected on top of your characters, on top of the actors. So there is a way to introduce a gobo inside of Arnold, but it uses an image, and the problem with using an image, as you guys know, is that images can come in really low resolutions, and that resolution gets transmitted down into the gobo inside of your scene. So for you guys, I'm providing another, or I'm actually going to be showing you another technique that we can use. So first of all, I am gonna what's the word? Actually, I want to grab this thing and let's just scale this down to 0. There we go. Shouldn't change anything as we've seen before. But in your assets folder, if you say file import, in your assets folder, you're going to find this thing called the old oak. I actually got this from SpeedTree. So I used SpeedTree to create this tree right here. And as you can see, it has this information right here. Now, the only problem with this one is, as you can see, it actually comes with the foliage of the elements. Let's zero this out. And I don't want that. If I were to go into the attribute editor, you're going to see that there's several materials. We have the bark, the cluster, the white oak, three materials pretty much. So if you go to the hypershade real quick, and we right click and select faces, we can look for this one. It's not the bark. It's probably going to be the, where is it? It's probably going to be the cluster. It could be cluster. Right click, and I'm going to say select objects with material. There we go. And we just delete them. That's it. That's what we want. So just delete the faces of that cluster. We don't even need to have a material because we're not actually going to be seeing this tree. We can actually assign just the basic Lambert material. Once you assign the Lambert material, you can go back to the hypershade. And one very cool thing that you can do is say edit, optimize scene size, or delete unused nodes, sorry. And this will delete anything that we're not using currently, so therefore it's just going to be free. And the advantage of using an actual shape like this one is that if we place a light outside of the house, we can actually get all of the branches projected onto the wall, and this is going to make things look way more realistic. Right now, if I were to just hit render, yes, we might see a little bit of light block because there's more shapes, so the general elements and the general effects from our environment are going to be slightly blocked, but I want to have more intense light. So again, maybe it's the moonlight or something. Let's go to Arnold lights and assign an area light, or add a new area light. And remember, the secret with area lights, especially if we want hard shadows, is to keep them small. So this is going to be like a spotlight that's going to be shining towards that area. There's a very cool trick. Let me see if it works still. No, it doesn't work anymore. Oh, that's a shame. There's a couple of renders that allow you to point this thing to specific places. I'm going to show you another way to do this. This is a little bit more, it has to do with rigging, but if you follow along, you're going to be able to create a very nice connection here. I'm going to go file, create, and I'm going to create a locator right here. And then what I'm going to do, we can make the locator bigger, is I can select a delocator and then the light, and we can go to rigging, constraint, and we're going to do this thing called an aim constraint. And if you leave it by default, it really doesn't matter that much. What's going to happen is now this thing is going to follow this element right here. But as you can see, it's not following with the proper axis. So the axis that this thing is going to be using is the negative C axis. So the aim vector is going to be -1 over here, because this is X, Y, and Z. So again, just an aim constraint, 0, 0, -1 on the aim vector, and hit apply, the driver, driven, apply. And now wherever this thing goes, the light is going to follow. So why is this useful? Well, because I can just place my thing right here on the window, and now I'm completely sure that this thing's going to be following it. And if I were to move this thing around, it's still going to try and follow it. So it's always going to follow the direction of the of that little constraint right there. This is, again, a little bit of rigging, but it's going to be useful for what we're about to do. So just move this thing closer to the window like this, and we definitely need quite a bit of exposure. Let's try something like 20. And again, as what we did with the lights, since we have more lights on the scene, it's important that we know what new light we're getting there. So let's just start with this very pink color, and then we hit render. As you can see, 20 exposure is not enough, and the reason it's not enough is we haven't changed the spread. So even though, yes, we're using a small light, the spread's still quite big. So let's bring this all the way up. Actually, let's go render, and I'm gonna say update full scene. And now when we render, we should be seeing, or we should be able to see, some light coming from the window. Let's wait for the render to start. Let me pause real quick, wait for this to start. There we go. So as you can see, we are getting the light into the scene through these elements right here, which are looking interesting, but not like good enough just yet. That's fine. Now this is of course gonna be a little bit noisier and stuff, but so far I like how this is looking. Let's go back to this guy right here, and let's bring the spread even lower. Let's try this again. And there we go. So now we can see the ray, the super intense ray of light coming through the window. I think I'm actually gonna make this thing a little bit bigger, taller. I'm gonna move this a little bit to the side because I want this light to be reflected on the back wall right there. So there we go, that's a little bit better. And as you can see on the shapes right there, we should be seeing some of the shapes from the tree, which is this one right here. Now to make or get some better shapes, let's bring the tree closer to the light source, because closer to the window, because the closer we are to the target of our scene, the nicer the shadows are going to be. Remember that the farther away an object is, the softer the shadows will appear. So you can see some of that interesting shapes right there. And we're also creating this interesting pattern where light is bouncing in some sort of like different directions, right? Now if we want to make this thing a little bit more like inclined, we can definitely like push this up. There we go. Something like this looks interesting. Now we have this very nice ray of light going into the center. We could even, again, talking about giving this more importance or more storytelling, we can rotate this around so that the light is shining right there on the other wall that we were still missing. We can of course grab our constraint right here and move it around a little bit so that we find the perfect position like that one. Let's move the tree. As you can see, it's a little bit difficult to know this, but there are like some God rays coming there from the tree. Let's see if like by pushing the tree further up, we can block some more of those rays to create some harsher shadows. Cool, there we go. Now that we have something interesting, now that we have all of this like rays of light coming into the scene, now we can of course modify the color back to a normal color, like a white color, and play around with the color temperature and maybe make this thing a little bit bluer, right? Like a lot cooler. Technically, the light of the moon is supposed to be warm because it's reflecting the light of the sun, which is warm. But we've been conditioned to think that it's not that way due to like Hollywood and films. So yeah, but I mean, in this case, that's totally fine. So there we go. We have that again. The light shafts. I can see some of the light shafts right there. I think we're getting some nice results. Another thing we can do if we want a little bit more occlusion, let's just duplicate this tree. Just add one more right there because we're never gonna see this tree, right? It's only helping us with the geometry side of things, and it's just again blocking some of the light, and we're getting some interesting shadows right there. Because I don't think we can go any lower on the what's the word, on the spread. We could try making this even smaller. Let's see if that works a little bit better. Yeah, that works a little bit better. So as you can see now, there's gonna be some more interesting shadows there on the wall. Give it even smaller, kind of like a spotlight. And now we can actually see some of like the random stuff there on the shadow. There we go. So that's the kind of stuff that we can do, and as you can see, it's gonna add another level of complexity to the whole scene. Now we have this very interesting like light shafts coming from the kitchen or from wherever this mysterious figure is, and we also have this guys coming from the top, right? Now technically we could add more of this if we want to, like if we want to add some more coming from the top or maybe from this window, we can do so. But usually you don't want to have a lot of like light sources competing against each other because you're gonna confuse the audience. So yeah, I really like this one. I think it looks quite nice. I'm wondering what will happen if we duplicated this light, create like a second one. because they're like really narrow, right? So I know that by duplicating, I'm not really adding more light into the scene. I'm just doing this. I do think they're a little bit overexposed now, so I'm gonna grab both of them and let's bring the exposure down to 17. And yes, we're gonna have that sort of like nice shadow coming there. Maybe 17 is way too. Let's go 18. Cool. So now the whole scene is looking quite nice. I think it's time that we start adding a little bit more, effects to the whole thing. And the one thing that's really bothering me is the fact that we have a really strong light on this area, like on the pillar here, on the pillar here, on the door, but there's nothing here on the actual floor. So I would like to add something there, and the best or easiest way to do that is by just duplicating the one that we already have or using a new one. Let's hit the silhouette and hit F, and again breaking a little bit what would be in reality. I'm just gonna go Arnold lights, area light, and I'm just gonna use an area light here on the floor. I just want to shine a little bit of light on the floor, following pretty much the same direction that we're following from the door to get something. So let's start with 15. Big light. It's definitely going to be warm, so let's bring this down and let's take a look. Because again, what I want is I want a little bit of light bleed here on the ground. Let's go back to shot cam. I can definitely see a little bit more, but I definitely want a little bit more as well. So let's increase this. Whoa. Something like this. And then again, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna break a little bit of the rules. I'm just gonna bring this thing down like this. I might even just like rotate this around so that it's only like illuminating the floor. We definitely need to bring the spread down. There we go. This is the kind of stuff that I was looking for. So again, this will be quite difficult to achieve on the on a more traditional process, right? On a set, it's definitely possible, but it will be a little bit trickier. But thanks to the CGI world, we can play around and break some of the physicality or things that we would normally expect on a scene and get something a little bit more interesting. So I think I'm gonna stop it right here, guys. So far we've looked at all of the setup to get this very nice, interesting illumination. We definitely need something, right? Like I feel like we're missing something here. I mean, this is a very cool scene, but we're missing something to make this thing look even better. I'm thinking about adding something creepy here, like a child's toy or something like that. But maybe we'll leave that for another time, because there's still a lot of topics that I want to cover, and there's a couple of other scenes that we're going to be exploring. So I think I'm going to leave it for like this for now, and in the next video we're going to take a look at the post-production, because we still need to do a little bit of post-production on this scene to get the final frame for our horror film. So yep, hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next one. Bye bye.